Hi, this is Miguel Bevia. In this video I'll share a few tips on color and layering to achieve harmony in a landscape. So the first thing I'm going to do is to establish a light warm ground on my canvas, and for this I'm going to be using the colors of burnt sienna and dark green earth. Now this is going to provide me with a warm undertone, so when I start layering in the cooler colors for the sky and foliage, this warm undertone is going to give the painting a sense of balance and harmony to the colors. Once the ground is set in, I start sketching in my drawing using a small round bristle brush. I am still using the same colors of burnt sienna and green earth. I'll also go over the colors I'm using, starting from the top left. They are lead white, Naples yellow, yellow ochre, gold ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, vermilion, red ochre, red lake, Van Dyke brown, ultramarine blue, green earth dark, and green earth light. So right now I'm just sketching in the outlines of the composition, and I'm not really focused on the details. I'm just focused on the placement of elements in space. I'm painting on an 8 by 10 inch piece of oil prime linen, which I cut myself and taped to a board. I usually do this when I'm painting color studies or just experimenting. I usually save these and use them as references for new paintings in the future. Once I finish sketching in my composition, I will start creating translucent washes for the shadows, and for this I'm going to be using the same colors, burnt sienna and green earth. And I'll thinly go over where the shadows are going to be. These washes are well diluted with solvent and will dry fairly quickly so I can start layering color right away. So these warm shadow washes are going to provide a warm undertone for the cooler greens I'm going to put over these trees with the foliage, and it's going to give a sense of balance and harmony to the trees that they would not otherwise possess. Once I'm done with the underpainting, I'm going to start blocking in the painting with color, and I'm going to start with the sky first, and for this I'm going to be using white, ultramarine blue, and a little green earth to give the sky a greenish tint, especially in the horizon. So right now I'm just mixing in the right value for the horizon with white, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of the green earth. As I move upwards in the sky, I'm going to use less white to make the blue a little bit more saturated and slightly darker in value. Once I'm done blocking in the sky, I'm going to move forward to the next element of depth, which is the distant mountain. And for this I'm going to use the same colors as I did for the sky, white, a little ultramarine blue, and green earth. But I'm also going to add a little bit of the burnt sienna to saturate the color and darken the value. Now, according to the laws of atmospheric perspective, the further an object is, the more it's going to take on the tonal value and color of the sky. So this is why it's a good idea to use the same colors you use to mix the sky and apply them to your distant mountains and trees. This will help to imitate the tint of the atmosphere and create the illusion of distance in your paintings. Now I'm mixing the colors for the mountain that's closer to us, and for this I'm using the same colors, just less white to make it darker in value, which is the ultramarine blue, a little bit of the green earth, white, and burnt sienna. As I move forward, I start introducing more green earth and less white to my colors, because the elements gradually lose their aerial tone value and color of the sky, and we start perceiving their natural color and proportion as the elements come forward towards the foreground. Now I will start making a low chroma color mix from my mid-ground fields. I have to be careful which colors I choose, because if the mixture is too saturated, these distant fields will jump forward in the painting, and the illusion of depth will be lost. So I'm choosing low chroma colors including yellow ochre, green earth, white, and a little bit of the burnt sienna. Now as I work toward the foreground, I keep darkening my values further so that they create stronger contrast and push the distant elements further back. For these foreground trees, I'm using a combination of green earth, ultramarine blue, and golden ochre. The golden ochre is going to make more saturated greens than the burnt sienna, because the golden ochre has a more yellowish hue, whereas the burnt sienna is more reddish and will gray or desaturate the green. So I want to create a dark yet more saturated greens for the foreground. Now to paint the grass in the foreground, I'm going to increase the saturation by mixing a brighter green earth with yellow ochre and a touch of white. The one thing with grass is to make sure you keep your values lighter than the surrounding trees and shrubs. Trees and shrubs are much darker in value than grass because the leaves are usually just naturally darker and because of the deep cast shadows within the trees or shrubs' dense foliage. So I want to make sure I paint the grass and fields much lighter so that the trees and shrubs clearly stand out in the landscape. As I paint the shadows of this house, that is the planes that are not getting direct light, I paint them with the same mixture as the grass. This is because the shadow areas are usually lit by the colors that are based on the environment they live on. So for example, in this painting, the grass, which is getting direct light, is bouncing off its light and illuminating the shadow areas of the house. Now I'm going to add darker values of grass in the immediate foreground. This will further help the illusion of recession and depth in the scene and will lead the eye inwards into the landscape. For this mixture, I'm using bright green earth and golden ochre. Now I will paint the path, and for this I'm going to be using the colors of golden ochre, red ochre, and some white. This dirt road will give me the opportunity to create color harmony between this warm reddish tone and the cool greens of the grass. I will also use some of this reddish tone to paint the roof of the house and create a nice color accent in the painting. Now I will add denser shadows on the roof of the house, and for this I will use a combination of burnt sienna and burnt umber. I will also add denser shadows on the edge of the dirt road, which will create a nice dark warm contrast against the cool greens near the path. Now I'm going to start adding my darkest shadows for the tree trunks and immediate foreground, and for this I'm going to be using a combination of burnt sienna, burnt umber, Van Dyke brown, and a little bit of the red lake. These dark warm foreground shadows are really going to help push the distance further back and help create the illusion of deep space in the painting. Now I'm going to begin painting the foliage in the foreground trees, and I'm going to use a combination of green earth and golden ochre. For the foliage, I apply the paint thinly and with broken color, that is, painting with small dabs of color and leaving gaps between them. This will allow some of the light warm tone of the ground to peek through the broken color and add color vibration and interest to the tree. Once the blocking stage is complete, I am then able to begin the process of building up the details and lights within the landscape. I'm going to start by adding a brighter blue to the sky. This will give the illusion of air and dimension in the sky. For this I'm using a combination of white, ultramarine blue, and the more intense green earth. Whereas in the first painting or blocking in stage I used grayer colors, in my second painting I will use more intense colors to bring life to the painting. I will just add a few clouds in the sky. For these I will use a combination of white and just a little bit of the burnt sienna to create a nice warm white that will harmonize with the coolness of the blue sky. Now I'm going to take some of the blue sky mixture and create the illusion of air between the mountain and the foreground. I am just lightly brushing this on. This again will give dimension to the mountain and make it more atmospheric. I will just add this air in the shadow areas of the mountain. For the light planes of the mountain, that is the sides getting direct light, I will use white, a little bit of the burnt sienna, and mix it with a little bit of the sky color, because the light rays are still traveling through the atmosphere and are tinged with a little blue. I also want to make sure I compress my values because this will help create the illusion of distance. I am adding the air and light in the mountain with broken color. That is painting with small dabs of color and leaving gaps between them so that the previous layer remains visible. This allows the colors to vibrate and give the sensation of light. Now I will do the same with the mountain closer to the foreground, but my values will be a little darker as the mountain is closer and is less influenced by the tonal value of the air. To create the air in this mountain, I am using a combination of white, ultramarine blue, a little bit of the dark green earth, and burnt sienna to slightly gray the blue. I will also add this air to the distant cluster of trees. I will now focus my attention in the country house and in the planes in direct light. Direct light visually overpowers ambient light, so I'm going to take some white, Naples yellow, and a little bit of the red ochre mixture to represent the lit area of the house. Here my paint will be more opaque than in the shadows. Here I will just add a little bit more of the ambient light in the shadows. I'm using green earth and yellow ochre. I am now going to mix some of the ambient light with a little red ochre to create the saturated grayish pink to show some of the house's local color and shadow. This will create variety and make the shadow more lively. Now I am just being expressive with color, and I'm adding a variety of broken color to the shadows. I am now going to redraw and fix the roof of the house using burnt sienna and a little bit of the red ochre. Now I will focus on the windows of the house using my dark shadow color, which was burnt sienna, burnt umber, Van Dyke brown, and a little bit of the red lake. I will draw the windows in the shadow. For the windows and the light side of the house, I will mainly use green earth, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and gold ochre. Because these windows are facing the sun, they will be lighter in value. I will add a little deep green color in the windows and shadow to add some variety in color and harmonize them with the environment. Here at this stage, I begin to build up the detail for the foliage that is being lit directly by the sunlight. And for this I'm using a combination of green earth, yellow ochre, white, naples yellow, and a little bit of the golden ochre. Now I will add some dark accents for the road, and for this I'm going to use a combination of burnt sienna and burnt umber. For the trees in the immediate foreground, I'm going to deepen my shadows and add my darkest darks using Van Dyke Brown and Red Lake. And you can see how dark these shadows are in comparison with the distant background. This contrast will create added depth to the scene and enhance the illusion of distance. I will also add these dark shadows sparingly to represent rocks, small shrubs, or cracks in the immediate foreground. I will add some branches and twigs to give more detail to the foreground trees. I will add individual leaves in the trees and in the immediate foreground, and I'm adding more warmth and saturation with naples yellow to help these leaves come forward. These sharp individual leaves and details in the foreground will create a nice contrast against the diffuse and undetailed distance, and will also help in creating added depth to the scene. I continue to add leaves and details in the foreground trees, using deep saturated color and texture in my brush strokes. I finish off the painting adding my highlights by mixing white, a little bit of the naples yellow, and yellow ochre. I really hope you found this video tutorial helpful. If you did, please hit the like button, and if you would like to see more videos like this one, you can subscribe to my channel to see more videos soon. As always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and make sure you visit my website for bonus content at www.mbevia.com. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until next time, take care.